Hello everyone and welcome to a video, another video I should say. So I haven't usually done these too much for the Rift Blast channel, but some of the new Vendetta Spoiler cards just went up, and I'm actually pretty hyped about our new purple yellow leader Kennen here. So I wanted to hop on here and do some early kind of theorizing and just kind of focusing in on cards that work specifically with this new leader. To give us some ideas of where we might see the deck go. So jumping right into it, we have our champion here first, our legend here first. It is Heart of the Tempest. He has, when you play a card from anywhere other than your hand, empower me. And then as an action, you can disempower him to give a unit assault to this turn. So this, to me, looks like going to be manipulating cards to get them replayed and everything like that, and then use them for a pretty aggressive style of deck with the Assault 2 here. So that's where I'm thinking this deck is going to end up to start. And what I went through before starting hitting record is I went through and found all of the cards that allow you to play themselves or other cards from somewhere other than your hand, just to get a flavor for what that means in the current game, and kinds of effects that we might see replicated with this deck. Moving on to the champion that we saw revealed in the video, it is a 3 energy, 1 purple power unit with 4 might, with the types of Kennen, Ionia, and Yordle. And it is Kennen, Storm of Shuriken, and he says, when you play me, burn 2, which means put the top two cards of your main deck into your trash, helping you fill up your trash, which kind of makes sense. Your trash is going to be one of the places I think you're going to be playing stuff from. And then the rest is, when I conquer, give a spell in your trash flow equal to its cost this turn. And what flow does is you may play it from your trash for its flow cost and then banish it. So when he conquers, which will be easier because of the assault, you will get access to an additional card out of your trash, and then it'll be kind of a one-time use. I think they learned their lesson with Fizz that just recycling stuff isn't strong enough as a gate to making it not usable, so you have to banish these cards when you flow them. So kind of just on a basic thing, we're going to be casting spells that probably make combat easier for us. Going to be conquering with Kennen, and then using his flow ability here to give those same spells set up for the next attack that you want to do. So I think this is going to be a pretty interesting deck. I think flow and this play from anywhere other than your hand sounds like a really interesting angle to me. So let's look at some of the cards I found that can work with this. And these are just in the order that that Piltover Archive put them in there. I don't know how it decided to put them in there. But first up we have Dragunder, which is 5 energy and a yellow power for an action. Kill a unit at a battlefield, but it costs 2 less if you cast it from anywhere other than your hand. So I can imagine giving this flow, actually now that it, yeah, if you give this flow with Kennen, then it would cost 2 less, because your flow cost is going to be 5 in yellow, and then when you cast it from anywhere else, it will cost 2 less, meaning it will cost you 5 in a power the first time, and then 3 in a power if you flow it. Which is actually pretty good, I think. 3 in a power to kill any unit out of battlefield is actually quite strong. So yeah, I think this might make the cut. I don't know if it makes it in all of the things, but it certainly might make the first. Then next we have Glass-Mixologist. This one is familiar to those who play LeBlanc. It's a 5 energy, 1 power, 5 might unit with a Death Knell ability of, you may play a unit with no more than 3 energy and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. So when it dies, you would get to empower something if you get to play anything back from this. One thing to note here that I just thought of, when you play a card, it means that this does not work with tokens, which obviously puts a gate on this. One of the things that yellow is really good at is making tokens, those recruit tokens in particular, and this would not work with those. But they may still be good in the deck, but it wouldn't trigger his empowerment. But Mixologist would be able to get back a guy, trigger the empower. And this can be a pretty good card in a, what's it called? In a aggro shell, as it's a guy that when he just goes in, if he dies, you just get something else back. You would get to empower your guy. He can give assault. Seems like a pretty strong. In the same vein, we have Spectral Matron as a 4 energy, 2 power, 4 might. For when you play me, you may play a unit costing no more than 3 and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. So another version of this effect. This one's pretty intensive on your power, so it might not make the cut unless you are in. I think this is the one that most people immediately jump to with this. We have Baited Hook. It is a 3 energy gear with 1 energy, 1 power, and tap to kill a friendly unit. Then you look at the top 5 cards of your main deck. You may play a unit from among them that has might up to 1 more than the killed unit, ignoring its cost, then recycle the rest. So this would be playing it from your deck, which would be somewhere other than your thing, and then it would be able to empower Kennen. Again, I don't know if just the assault is enough to work, because assault does not work particularly well with Baited Hook, because when you are designated as an attacker, you would not be able to use the Baited Hook ability. It's not action speed or above, so you won't be able to leverage the assault on your Baited Hook, but you would be able to get empowered to give something else that. So especially if you're hooking into maybe a Spectral Matron or a Glass Mixologist, or you're hooking the Mixologist itself, you can look for guys. They'll come in, give empowered to Kennen, and then they can do the attacking. So I do think that there is definitely some synergy there, and I think this will be the first place that everyone tries is Baited Hook. And then especially in purple with Baited Hook, you have access to Stack Deck, which will allow you to find the Baited Hook more reliably, which I think is probably going to be a pretty good baseline for the deck. But we'll see how it actually shakes out. The next card I have noted is Hidden Blade here. So Hidden is playing from a place that's not your hand. So I think this is actually going to be a pretty reasonable way to build the deck with a lot of hidden stuff. Purple has quite a bit of good hidden stuff. Yellow obviously has Hidden Blade, which is one of the better hidden cards in the game. So that is a 2 energy, 1 power, hidden, and action. Kill a unit at a battlefield. Its controller draws 2. I think this could actually be quite solid in the deck. This is kind of no questions asked removal at the expense of giving your opponent draws. But especially if you're aggressive and you're able to convert the game in time, this can be really good at in an aggro shell, because they won't always be able to use both of their cards that you gave them, which can make it quite good. Next one we have is the 5 energy, 1 power, 5 might unit Rek'Sai, Swarm Queen, and then this one has, when I attack, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, which would be played from the top of your deck, triggering Kennen, and then recycle the rest. If the played card is a unit, you may play it here, allowing you to get actually quite a bit of power. If you play this out, you have already gotten it empowered on Kennen. You can disempower him to give Rek'Sai that +2, so it's swinging as a 7 might that potentially brings a friend along with it. That's quite good as an aggressive thing. The 5 cost might make it a little too expensive for kind of rushing out there in a more aggressive style, but depending on the angle you're going to with the list, I do think the Rek'Sai could be somewhere you could go. After that, we have Undying Loyalty. It is a spell that is 2 energy, 1 yellow power. This costs 2 less if you choose a bird, cat, dog, or Poro, and it is play a unit with cost no more than 2 and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. So this one allows you to bring back a guy, which would empower your thing. The question is are you going to be playing enough birds, cats, dogs, or poros in this list, which I think is pretty interesting. You might be able to actually make this work if you find just the right mix. Probably looking into some of the Ivern yellow cards to see if you can make something work in there. But I do think this is a pretty interesting card for the idea of triggering your thing. Your cheap units are going to be the ones that you're going to be getting the most use out of putting Assault on. Because once you get to bigger units, they usually don't need too much extra might. But this one does do pretty good at getting your cheap units both back and giving you access to Empower for your legend. After that, we have a pretty classic one going back to Origins. This is Soul Gorger. It's 8 energy, 2 purple power for a 5 might unit with when you play me, you may play a unit from your trash, ignoring its energy cost. You still have to pay its power cost though. So this would empower, and I think that would be pretty reasonable if you're going in a much slower version of the deck. Trying to lean into the value engine, probably something closer to the Mixologist than the Undying Loyalty end of the spectrum. Trying to play a more value-based plan. This is also something you could hook into, which could be interesting. So you could, for example, hook your Mixologist into a Soul Gorger. The Soul Gorger would let you play back out the Mixologist, paying just the yellow power. Essentially allowing you to kind of grow your board in a pretty effective way. And then the Mixologist Death Knell trigger would also work at giving you something back. So if you kill the Mixologist, you get back a cheaper guy, and then you get the Gorger who gets back to the Mixologist. It seems like a pretty powerful little thing. I think the baited hook might have some legs. It'll be a question of whether or not you can get your game plan online early enough, and if you can leverage the Empower ability in an effective way. Next up, we have a spell that is essentially the same thing as Soul Gorger. It is just 6 energy and 2 power for the same ability, so just no unit attached. This one I think is probably less good than Soul Gorger on average, because it doesn't have the same synergies with other cards. But if we lean into a more flow thing, you could flow this ability, for example, which could be pretty interesting as a way of turning the spell part of Kinnon's ability into something you can leverage here. After that, I have Ember Monk. I ran into this one before I ran into that, so Hidden, I just wanted to reiterate, is something that'll trigger it. And Ember Monk is actually quite efficient as a thing. If you get on a board with using the Assault, then you can play out this Ember Monk and hide something, giving you access to quite a bit of might on top of whatever your hidden spell is. Which could be actually pretty good in the deck, I think. Especially if you can find a way to give ganking, reveal a hidden card, and then gank him over to the other battlefield can be quite effective. The next one, which is the other card that I think everyone thought of when they saw Kinnon, was Nocturne. It's a 4 energy, 1 purple power, 4 might unit with ganking. And when you look at cards from the top of your deck, and don't draw them, and see me, you may play me for 1 power of any color. So this is something that you could see off of a stack deck, or a Candlelit Sanctum, or Baited Hook as another card, that when you are looking at cards from the deck, you get to, what's it called? You get to potentially cast Nocturne, which seems like pretty strong. He also has ganking, which works pretty well with Assault because you can leverage it more than once on a turn if you have a way to restand, which can be quite good. Something like a Ride the Wind on Nocturne to send him into one battlefield, use your Empower to give him 6 might, and then he can gank over to the other battlefield, which could be a pretty interesting play. After that, we have the Cursed Sarcophagus. This is a 4 energy, 1 purple power gear with, when you play this, banish all units from your trash. And then tap to play a unit banished with this. You still have to pay its costs, but that would trigger Kinnan. So this is a way to, rather than one at a time like you would be doing with Mixologist and Spectral Matron, you can kind of get everything ready and then start playing out stuff. The biggest downside to this is that it doesn't work very well with stuff like Soul Gorger or Glass Mixologist, because it banishes all of the stuff. You can't select which you're banishing. But you do get to essentially guarantee your empowers every turn, because you can just tap this to play out a guy from trash every turn. Now on to definitely the third card that everyone thought of. Either first, second, or third. Definitely in the top 3 of cards people thought of with Kinnan is Fizz. This card is great in a lot of different cases. It's a 3 energy, 1 purple power unit with 3 might, and when you play me, you may play a spell from your trash with energy cost no more than 3, ignoring its energy cost. Recycle that spell after you play it. So this is played from the trash, triggering your guy, and giving you access to Empower. He is not a great body on his own, but with Assault 2, I think he could actually be pretty reasonable, and just a leader that wants to trigger this stuff is going to be great. We now will have Fizz with all of the yellow spells, which we haven't seen yet. This is the first time we've gotten a yellow-purple leader or legend, so this is new for the game, and I think that people are going to find a whole bunch of things to do with Fizz plus yellow spells in ways that are going to make the game even more interesting. I don't think that Fizz should get banned, but I have seen some rumblings that people think that Fizz is the problem with all the purple decks, and so there is a world in which he gets the axe, but I hope that that's not the case, because I really want to try out this legend, and I think that Fizz is going to be a really important and good part in it. Next up, we have Last Rites, which is a 3 energy gear equipment with equip for a purple power and recycle 2 cards from your trash. And then when I conquer or hold, you may play a unit from your trash. You still pay its costs. So this is pretty great here, particularly Rasa, who I didn't pull in here, is going to be really great with Last Rites. You get to recycle a bunch of, or get a bunch of guys into the trash to make a Rasa cheaper. And then you can Last Rites to get Rasa out of the trash, potentially, which would be pretty big. And being able to just get a nice might boost and leverage the When I Conquer ability with the leader, I think is going to be great. Next, obviously, we have our chosen champion here. So we already went over him. I think the burn actually works really well with Rasa and Last Rites and with Fizz. So I think that burn is going to be great with it. Flow, giving you a kind of Fizz equivalent, just for a different cost, I think could be pretty interesting there. And then, the one last card that I want to go over, and this is the one that I think the most excited for with the deck, is Heedless Resurrection. It is a 2 energy, 1 purple power spell with reaction. As an additional cost to play this, kill a friendly unit. Play a unit from your trash that costs no more energy and no more power than the killed unit, ignoring its cost. So the way I think that this will work most effectively is you send in a guy with Assault, granted from your leader. Then you can conquer, presumably, because you have Assault. Then you can play Heedless Resurrection to sacrifice the guy, sending the new card back from base, maybe getting value off of maybe a Fizz, or if you're attacking with a Nocturne, get something else. Essentially getting value from a character and then not leaving it in the battlefield for your opponent to fight, allowing you essentially to keep your value out of the exchange. Because that's one of the things that really hurts with some of these aggressive decks, is you send your guys in, they are successful at taking the battlefield, but then you lose them and lose out on that card value, because your opponent can just go over the top of those guys without too much issue, which will be tough to get around. Heedless Resurrection at least lets you change in the card for another card, which I think is going to be pretty good. And none of this stuff recycles. This card doesn't recycle anything, so you get to continually bring back the same guys. You can go in with a Fizz, and then do a Fizz, use Fizz to cast another thing, maybe a stack deck or something like that, and then be ready to do it on the following turn. Just a pretty good thing. Similarly, you can use Baited Hook for this process, so I think that Baited Hook, Heedless Resurrection, Nocturne, Fizz, these are the kinds of cards that we're definitely going to see in those decks. It's just a question of how many of them can you fit, and do you have to like lean into one? Do I have to lean into Baited Hook, make it into where I can't play Heedless Resurrection as much? Do I need to lean into Fizz where I can't play Baited Hook as much? There's going to be some questions going like that. But that is what I wanted to go over for this first video. As of the recording of this video, and probably there'll be a couple new cards by the time it's posted, this is the cards that I'm kind of excited for. I do plan on doing some follow-up videos with this set to try to maybe once a week or once every couple days check in, add in a quick video of the new cards for the set, and kind of give you guys my thoughts, some first impressions. But thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys are interested in this one. I am definitely interested in this new guy. But thanks for hanging out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.